For your patience and one warm welcome to each of you. Our Minister for Finance, Honorable Dennis Conwell, Country Manager, ECCB, Ms. Valen Skid, and other representatives from the bank, Vice President, SGU, Mrs. Dawn Buckmeyer, and Dr. Lucy Eugene, Dean of School of Arts and Sciences, SGU, and other SGU officials, Ms. Alana Tumburima, President of the Board of Directors, Ariza Credit Union, Mr. Mervyn Lord, CEO, Ariza Credit Union, and the team of Credit Union team members of the Credit Union and other officers. Featured speaker, Mrs. Lucia Livingston Andel, Chair of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission, our distinguished panel of experts. Ladies and gentlemen, students, one and all, good afternoon, good evening. It's a pleasure to see you here this evening as we gather for the annual financial lecture hosted by the Ministry of Finance in collaboration with the Ariza Credit Union. Tonight's event forms part of the wider observance of Financial Information Month, a regional initiative of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank that reminds us of the power of financial education to transform lives and communities. Each year, FIM challenges us to strengthen our financial resilience, think long-term, and make informed decisions that move us from simply savings to building wealth. As we explore this year's theme, financial freedom through investing, moving beyond traditional saving, we are invited to a mindset shift, embrace knowledge, and take practical steps towards financial independence. We also take this opportunity to recognize and thank our partners who have made this evening possible, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank and the St. George's University School of Arts and Sciences, our gracious hosts. We truly appreciate their continued collaboration and support in advancing financial literacy and empowerment throughout Grenada and the wider Eastern Caribbean. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my pleasure to officially call this evening's session to order and as we prepare to begin our program. Please stand for our opening prayer by Mr. Dwight Sampson.
Our God and Father, we thank you for today, and we thank you for your many blessings on us. We thank you as we celebrate this month of awareness, financial literacy. We thank you for the strength. We thank you for vision. We thank you, O God, for opportunities to share wisdom. Father, as we embark on this lecture this afternoon, we place our feature speaker into your hands, Lord. We pray that the wisdom that she will share here today will be received and will be applied. We thank you for blessing her with long days. We thank you for blessing her with wisdom. And we thank you, O God, for blessing her with the strength and courage that she can stand today. We pray for all our FIM partners. We pray for our Ministry of Finance. And we pray, O God, that at the end of this session, that we will leave refreshed, knowledgeable, and strengthened. We ask all these things through Christ our Lord.
Please remain standing for the national anthem of Grenada. Hail, Grenada, land of ours, we pledge ourselves to thee. Heads, hearts, and hands in unity to reach our destiny. ever conscious of God, being proud of our heritage. May we with faith and courage aspire, build, advance as one people, one family. God bless our nation. Thank you. Please have your seat. It is my pleasure to invite to the microphone Mr. Moving Lord, the CEO of Ariza Credit Union. Put our hands together for him.
Good evening, everyone. See some nice smiles from the youths. That's so lovely. Minister of Finance, the Honorable Dennis Cornwall, Deputy Permanent Secretary within the Ministry of Finance, David Anthony Hopkin, Country Manager, ECCB, Ms. Valerie Street, and other representatives from the bank, Vice President, SGU, Mrs. Dawn Buckmeyer, and Dr. Lucy Eugene, Dean of School of Arts and Science, SGU, and official. My dear Chair, President of Ariza, Sister Alana Tumbarima, Featured speaker, Mrs. Lucia Andal, Chair of the Eastern Caribbean Security Regulatory Commission, our distinguished panels, ladies and gentlemen, students, one and all, good evening. It is such a joy and honor to welcome you to Ariza's second annual financial lecture, held in partnership with ECCB's Financial Information Month activities. We are also proud to welcome our new partners, the Government of Grenada and St. George's University, joining us, yes, joining us in this national mission, because financial literacy is not just personal, it's patriotic. This evening, it is not just another lecture, it's a movement to awaken minds, to empower families, and to build a nation of financially free people. When we began this journey, we had one vision: that knowledge, financial knowledge, should not be for a privileged few, but for a birthright of all. That every Grenadian should have the tools, the wisdom, and the confidence to build wealth, freedom, and legacy. This year's theme, Financial Freedom Through Investing, Moving Beyond Traditional Savings, calls us to evolve, to move from simple saving for safety to investing for growth, to build independence, to create generational wealth. Our first lecture, delivered by Mr. Richard Duncan OB, challenged us to make our money work for us. It sparked important conversation on how we view and manage our finances. This evening, our very own Miss Lucia Livingston Andal will take us even further, showing us how to move beyond traditional savings towards true financial freedom. It is imperative to note that when our people are empowered, our nation prospers. So this evening, let us open our hearts and our minds. Let us shift our thinking. Let us commit to becoming not just earners, not just savers, but investors in our future. Because financial literacy is more than knowledge. It is power. Power to choose. Power to rise. Power to transform dreams into destiny. So on behalf of the Ariza Credit Union and all our partners, thank you for being here, for believing, and for daring to grow. Welcome, and let's be inspired to invest not only in our future, but that of the next generations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lord, for setting the context for us being here this evening, and also in echoing again that invitation to be part of this event. And it is my pleasure now to invite Dr. Lucy Eugene to make remarks on behalf of the St. George's University, our gracious host today.
Good evening, everyone, and of course, welcome. I'm Dr. Lucy Eugene, Dean of the School of Arts and Sciences. Just permit me, please, to introduce my colleague, Dr. Anthony Andel, who is the Vice Provost within the Office of the Provost, and he will also offer words of welcome from the higher administration, before I also just give my own few words of welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Eugene. Minister of Finance, the Honorable Dennis Cornwall, our distinguished speaker this evening, Mrs. Lucia Livingston Andel, the specially invited guests, students, well-wishers, good afternoon. Welcome to the Charles R. Modica St. George's University campus. I bring you greetings on behalf of senior administration, our president, Dr. Marius Lucas, our vice provost, Dr. Mark Clunes. And as SGU moves into its 50 years of existence and excellence and partnership with the Grenadian community, we have achieved, or we have seen many successes, experienced many successes over the years. And the various accreditations of our various programs on various schools, School of Medicine, or School of Veterinary Medicine, School of Graduate Studies, as well in School of Arts and Sciences. And as we set the tone, today is the next 50 years, we take great pleasure in being able to host this seminar this evening. Looking at the theme, moving from savings to investing, it's a shift in terms of the mindset of the local community. And for SGU, being a partner or a significant partner with Grenada and the Grenadian community, it gives us great pleasure to host this event today. I thank you. Welcome once again to the SGU campus, and I look forward to a very informative session this evening. Eugene?
Thank you, Dr. Andel. Honorable Minister, sorry. Okay, sorry about that. Honorable Minister of Finance, Dennis Cornwall, our distinguished speaker, members of the ECCB institution, our specially invited guest, students, friends, members of the SGU community, one and all. Again, a warm welcome to all of you. I don't think there's much that I can add. I just want to say that, as mentioned by Dr. Andel, and so well put by your CEO, Mr. Lord, this is an excellent opportunity, really, to provide a context within which the issue of moving the literacy of the Grenadian community forward as far as financial literacy is concerned, it's a welcome opportunity. And so I do agree that in terms of the development of any society, oftentimes we do have to move from the traditional saver to that of investor. And I know you are in very capable hands this afternoon with Ms. Andel. I don't think you could have a better spokesperson on the different areas in terms of the non-traditional areas, stocks, bonds, cryptocurrency, the works. So again, on behalf of SGU, we welcome you. We are happy to have hosted this event this afternoon, or rather this evening, and I also look forward to what I know will be very meaningful contributions, discussions, etc. So it's just for me to once again say to all of you, welcome.
And thank you very much, SGU, for graciously hosting us, and all the members of your team who worked behind the scene to make this a reality. So it's my pleasure now to invite the Minister for Finance, Mr. Dennis Cornwall, Honorable Dennis Cornwall, to the microphone, who would make some remarks on behalf of the Ministry of Finance.
Good evening, everyone. Deputy Permanent Secretary responsible for administration in the Ministry of Finance, Mr. David Anthony Hopkin, Country Manager of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, Ms. Valens Street, and other representatives from the bank, CEO of Ariza Credit Union, Mr. Marvin Ludd, and the team at the credit union, Chief Corporate Communication Officer, Mr. Russell John, and the other officers in that unit, featured speaker and chair of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission, Mrs. Lucia Andel, Dr. Lucy Eugene from the St. George's University, and other faculty at the St. George's University and staff. Distinguished panel of experts, ladies and gentlemen, it's indeed a privilege to join you this evening for the annual Financial Literacy Lecture as we officially bring the curtains down on the Financial Information Month 2025. Over the past weeks, our nation has once again demonstrated the power of partnership, creativity, and community engagement in advancing financial literacy and inclusion. From our schools and communities to our business sectors, the spirit of this year's Financial Information Month has been about empowerment. Our goals has been to help every Grenadian understand that financial knowledge is not just about numbers, but about choices, opportunities, and the future we wish to build. I wish to extend my heartfelt appreciation to the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank for its unwavering leadership in this regional effort. Year after year, the ECCB continues to champion financial literacy as a pillar of economic resilience, ensuring that the people of our region are equipped to make informed decisions and to manage their resources wisely. For our many FIM partners, Ariza Credit Union, the banks, insurance company, media houses, schools, and community groups, I say thank you. Your participation and commitment have made a difference, helping us reach thousands of citizens through education, conversation, and real engagement. I must take the moment to commend the Corporate Communication Unit within the Ministry of Finance. Your tireless work throughout this month and beyond has been truly outstanding. From the launch of the pension certificate portal, housing investment bond, to the dynamic finance on-the-go community outreach, and the many educational features produced across various platforms, you have shown innovation and dedication in bringing financial information directly to the people, and for that, the Ministry of Finance is deeply grateful. This evening's lecture holds special significance not only as our closing event, but because of the persons delivering it. Mrs. Handel represents the best of public service, a woman whose love for our country and sense of duty remains steadfast even in retirement. She has been a champion for the creation of investment opportunities for Grenadians, and moreover, when called upon to lend a voice and expertise to this important national conversation, she did not hesitate. That in itself speaks volume about her character and her commitment, to seeing Grenada grow stronger, wiser, and more financially empowered. Mrs. Handel, we thank you for your unwavering answer to the call once again, and for continuing to inspire so many of us with your example. As we close Financial Information Month 2025, let us remember that financial literacy does not end here tonight. It must become part of our culture, part of how we plan to live our lives, raise our families, and build our communities. Each of us has a role to play in shaping a Grenada that is financially aware, responsible, and resilient. Let's continue to share knowledge to encourage savings and investment and support innovation that uplifts our people. Together, government, the private sector, and citizens can continue to build a nation where financial empowerment is not a privilege, but a way of life. I thank the ECCB, Ariza, our partners, and entire Ministry of Finance team for another successful Financial Information Month, and I look forward to even greater collaboration in the years ahead. Thank you. May God bless you, and may Grenada continue to be blessed, and we build a beloved nation of Grenada. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for your remarks and commendations for the various stakeholders who made this event possible. And we'd like to mention also the collaboration that has brought us together to this event between the Ariza Credit Union, the Ministry of Finance, and the St. George's University. Thank you very much again. And now we're getting into the meat of the matter this evening, and I would like to invite to the microphone Ms. Street, Valine Street, to introduce our keynote speaker for this evening's lecture.
Minister for Finance, Honorable Dennis Cornwall, Deputy Permanent Secretary within the Ministry of Finance, David Anthony Hopkin, Mr. Mervyn Lord, CEO of Ariza Credit Union and the team at the Credit Union, featured speaker, Mrs. Lucia Livingston Andel, Chair of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission, our distinguished panel of experts, ladies and gentlemen, students, one and all, good evening. It gives me distinct pleasure to introduce to you our featured speaker for this lecture. Mrs. Lucia Livingston Andel is a management and finance professional whose career spans over 35 years at the helm of organizations in Grenada and regionally, facilitating change and transformation. She served as Director of Trade, Industry, and Energy in the Ministry of Finance, Grenada. She was the manager of the Grenada Development Bank, manager of Grenada Public Service Credit Union. She retired from her most recent position as Chief Executive Officer of Ariza Credit Union in Grenada on the 30th of September, 2022, after 25 years to it and its predecessor organization, the Grenada Public Service Cooperative Credit Union. During her tenure, she was instrumental in leading her teams in modernizing the credit union's operations and transforming and rebranding it to be one of the region's largest and fastest growing credit unions. She has been a commissioner on the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission for 14 years and currently holds the position of chairman. She embraces the philosophy of inclusiveness for economic transformation of the region and sees the cooperative movement with its reach and grassroots membership as a vehicle for growth of the capital market and financial sector in the region. Her qualifications include a Bachelor of Science degree in Management from the University of the West Indies, a Master of Science from Memorial University in Newfoundland, Canada, Project Management Professional Certification from the Project Management Institute of the USA. She is a Certified Professional Accountant from CGA Canada. She is also a Certified Financial Planner. She was recognized and granted a national award as part of Grenada's 50th anniversary celebrations for her contributions to the development of finance in Grenada and the region. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Lucia Livingston Andel.
Good evening, everyone. Wasn't quite sure she was speaking about me. It's a pleasure for me to be here. I want to welcome each one of you currently sitting here in Charter Hall and all our participants around the region who are joining us via the internet. Welcome. protocol has been established, please permit me, but I do recognize Honorable Dennis Cornwall, Minister of Finance, and of course my colleague, Mr. Lord, and his president, Mrs. Barrymore. Happy to have you. Thanks for inviting me to be part of your financial literacy campaign. Thanks for considering me worthy. Ladies and gentlemen, we are blessed to be here. I want us to recognize that. We are sitting here and we are listening perhaps from a very comfortable place at home, while our sisters and brothers in the north of us continue to be ravaged by Hurricane Melissa, or have been ravaged. And to the south of us, we have sitting in our Caribbean Sea missiles and weapons and other possibilities of war that could be deployed at short notice at someone's whim. Let us recognize how blessed we are. And let us ask God at this time for mercy. Mercy sits at the next side of grace. You know, when we ask for mercy, as we ask God to not forgive us for the things that we have done, and we ask for grace, forgive us the things that we do not deserve. I ask you now to please stand for a moment as we seek to have one moment of solidarity for our brothers and sisters up north, and to ask God in your private thoughts and in your private prayer to protect us from what could possibly come. One moment of silence, please. 1 minute of silence, please. Thank you. We can have more seats. Our topic this evening, financial freedom through investing, moving beyond traditional savings. Before I begin, I have to give the usual disclaimer. I am currently the chairman of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission. And my CEO of the commission will also be joining us online in the panel. However, the views on anything that we express will be our own and not that of the commission that we serve. My presentation will take the form of And just quickly outlining to you the current state of savings, looking at options for investments, talking about the ECSRC, purpose of the ECSRC, our operational framework, how we invest on the Eastern Caribbean securities market, talk about your rights as an investor, and tips you should avoid, investment scams and frauds, etc. Now, the case for saving has already been made. There's no need for us to talk about you need to save. You don't need to tell anyone that now. I think the banks, and especially the credit unions, have done a great job in mobilizing savings. From a very young age, we are told you need to save. I remember as a child, I was told to go to the penny bank and start an account. So we're pretty much well versed in the issue of savings. As a matter of fact, in a recent meeting that we had to discuss the bond, our governor of the central bank revealed that there's about $5 billion sitting in the banks in Grenada right now in savings. So there's really no need to ask you to please consider the need for saving. What we need to tell you is, having done that, then what is the next step? What is the next step? And why do we save? We save for transactional purposes because, of course, we must buy things, we must eat, we must use our cards, we must do things. We save for emergencies and other special purposes. For example, we want to save as a down payment of a house, etc., etc. So we save for these purposes. And then we save for wealth creation. Wealth creation not necessarily for us, but also intergenerationally. That's our responsibility. And even as I speak, I reflect on the environment in which we are, the environment I spoke about at the beginning, an environment of uncertainty, an environment where you don't know if perhaps we're going to be alive tomorrow, basically. And you say, well, why am I going to talk about savings and investments and all of these long-term things? You know? But it's important that we do that. Because remember that the world and all its resources belong to whom? And therefore, we have a responsibility to ensure that whatever resource is placed in our hands, we manage them responsibly. So it's not a case of deciding whether or not I should invest, whether or not I should save. As an individual, yes, you have that responsibility to yourself, but you also have that responsibility as a member of your country. Because any country building wealth must begin with savings. So yes, it's something that we do as individuals, but something that we must do as well as part of the economic development of our country. And I need to make another disclaimer. I don't remember the name. Let me just look, make sure I have it right. One second. Yes. Yes, I do get a name. Dr. Lucy Eugene, you mentioned cryptos, you mentioned other products.
Annual financial lecture.
Disclaimer. Audio? Not me? My lecture will not speak about cryptos. It will not speak about foreign exchange trading. It will not speak about investment in commodities. It will not speak about any pyramid scheme. It will not speak of any of these things. Disclaimer up front, I have no knowledge and we have no authority for managing or regulating these products. Our governor of the central bank will tell you quite early, if you make an investment in any of these products, you're on your own. You're on your own. The Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission regulates trading in financial assets. Financial assets trading on the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange. We know there are lots of exotic things out there, but disclaimer, cryptos, not us. Foreign exchange, not us. Commodities, gold, silver, cocoa, whatever, not us. Yeah, we regulate trading on the Eastern Caribbean Securities market through the Eastern Caribbean Regulatory Commission. I see the gentleman is leaving. I think he wants us to talk about cryptos. Oh, I can't help you. That being said, we speak about, yes, you need to invest for wealth creation. Then you must go beyond the traditional savings. You must go towards a product that offers you a higher rate of return. And of course, we know that if you expect it or you're trying to have a higher rate of return, what will come with that? Higher risk. Higher the return, higher the risk. But guru in investing, Warren Buffett, and I'm sure we have heard that name, has a golden rule. Whatever you do, ensure that you do not lose your capital. So your capital remains intact. Whatever you do, ensure that you do not lose your capital. So I mentioned the different options for investing. Of course, you could go into real estate. You could go into a business. You can trade in commodities, as I mentioned earlier, precious metals, financial assets, and others. As I said, our presentation this afternoon will deal with investing in financial assets on the Eastern Caribbean securities market, and in particular, the role of the ECSRC in protecting investors. So that's the gist of the presentation. So, who is the ECSRC? What do we do?
My friends and family often wonder, what is it I really do working at the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission, ECSRC for short? Truth be told, most don't even know what it is. And when I tell them, our role is to protect investors in securities on the Eastern Caribbean Securities Market, ECSM, and to ensure that the market operates in a fair, transparent, and efficient manner by enforcing the provisions of the Securities Act and regulations made under the Act, as well as development of the regional securities market in the territories comprising of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, well, that just makes it worse. But when I explain that securities are really stocks and bonds like they see on TV with the US stock market, they start to get the picture. When I tell them we have regulatory oversight of all licensed brokers and investment advisors, and that we also register companies that offer stocks and bonds to the public on the ECSM, they get the picture even better. The ECSRC exists to ensure every investor is protected from unscrupulous practices, and that the listed companies on the exchange and other companies that have sold securities to the public provide timely and relevant information about their operations. This helps investors and the general public in the region benefit from and reap the rewards from a stable and well-informed securities market. We are ready to act at a moment's notice and are backed by the most up-to-date and modern securities laws enacted in each of the member countries. Impressive, isn't it? Okay, but really, we have an excellent legal team which works hand-in-hand with the legal authorities in the member countries to ensure local laws and international best practices are observed and enforced. The securities laws include provisions to fine and even imprison persons for serious breaches. We take the fair and proper functioning of the market very seriously. We know that the many individual and institutional investors invest some of their hard-earned savings in stocks and bonds that are offered on the market and need to know that someone is ever watchful to protect every investor. We are proud to play our part in the region's development and live by the words our core commitment every day: integrity, fairness, efficiency, and growth. The Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission, protecting investors, building our future.
That's what we do. We are the policemen.
My friends and family often wonder.
Sorry. That's what we are, and that's what we do. The Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission is charged with the responsibility of protecting investors through the work that we have been charged through the Securities Act that has been enacted in all of the member states. So we were created in 2000 through an agreement known as the ECSRC agreement. This agreement was signed among the governments representing the member countries of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, comprising Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, Commonwealth of Dominica, Grenada, Montserrat, St. Kitts Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines. The Commission commenced operations on April 19, 2001, which coincided with the launch of the regional securities market in every member state. The ECSRC agreement gained the force of law and gave the ECSRC legislative authority with the passage of the Securities Act I mentioned earlier by the parliaments in all the ECCU member countries. In 2020, the agreement was revisited and modernized to enhance the ECSRC's regulatory authority and reenacted into law as a separate ECSRC agreement, ECSRC Agreement Act in the ECCU member countries. What's our vision? Our vision is to be a competent and proactive regulator of a vibrant and competitive Eastern Caribbean securities market. Our mission: to ensure integrity, probity, efficiency, and transparency in the operations of the Eastern Caribbean securities market and its participants, and all its participants, to protect investors and to facilitate market development. Core values: integrity, professionalism and commitment, excellence and innovation, client-oriented, collaboration, and teamwork. So we have four main areas of focus. We license persons engaged in securities business, and we monitor and supervise the conduct of such businesses by the licensees. You cannot buy or sell securities except through a licensed broker-dealer. All of our broker-dealers must be licensed by the Commission. To promote investor protection through promotion of the high standards of professionalism and other activities within the market. To maintain effective compliance and enforcement programs supported by adequate statutory powers. To promote the growth and development of the capital market. So what's our framework? Who are we? Let me just stop and ask a question. Before now, has anyone heard of the ECSRC? Yes? I sometimes say that we are the best kept secret, but you do know that there are two regulatory bodies in the ECCM, Eastern Caribbean Currency Market, that sits side by side. We have the ECCB that regulates the commercial banking sector, and we have the ECSRC that regulates the securities markets. Of course, everybody knows the ECCB. Not too many people know the ECSRC, but that is going to change as you become much more involved in the market, much more involved in the activities of the market, and therefore made much more aware of the protection and other services provided by the Eastern Caribbean Regulatory Commission. So the highest body that governs the ECSRC, of course, is the Monetary Council. We are appointed by the Monetary Council. Our current board comprises of, they say never call yourself first, but in this case I must because I'm the chairman. So myself, as chair, Vincent Richard, PhD, as deputy chair, a national of Antigua, and we are the longest serving commissioners. I have been a commissioner for 14 years and 5 years as chairman. Mr. Anthony Isaac, a resident of St. Lucia, Mr. John Venner, a resident of St. Kitts, and our owner, Mrs. Linda Dolan, who is a local attorney here in Grenada. Commissions are appointed from nominees proposed by the ECCU member government. So we have 2 nominees from the governments, 2 nominees from the private sector, and 1 nominee from the central bank. These persons must be recognized and upstanding and has experience in securities or any other of the following areas, in the areas of law, accounting, banking, economics, commerce, and industry of finance. The Monetary Council selects the chairman and deputy chairman, and each is appointed for a period of 5 years. So that's who we are. These are the persons behind the work of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission, and they are all called commissioners. Now let's talk a little bit about investing on the ECSM for investors, or for intermediaries, and for issuers. And these 3 categories are all different in terms of the expectations and what they expect and what they're expected to do and know. Securities market provide funding for growth and startup companies, as well as for a forum for management, sharing of risk and wealth, and retirement planning for individuals. A thriving securities market operates optimally when it can allocate capital efficiently from savers on the supply side to the users of capital on the demand side. Therefore, as the number of investors increase on the supply side, so too must the number of issuers of debt and other types of securities increase on the demand side. To date, we have 32 companies that have sold shares to the public. 13 of those companies are listed on the stock exchange, and the shares are trading on a daily basis. So we have 36 companies traded on the Eastern Caribbean securities market. How many of those are Grenadian companies? We know? Have we looked? Where would we find information? On ECSC online. How many companies are listed there? Tell me one. Grenlec, yes. Coop Bank, yes. Grenville. So we know. We know. We look at that chart, and I hope you can see it. The spread is quite wide in terms of the industries that are listed. We have 54% are banking and financial services, 8% manufacturing, utilities, and then we have 22% in the wholesale, retail, and distributive trades. On the other chart, we see that listing by country. So which country has the most St. Kitts, followed by Grenada, and we hope to have much more, hopefully, and followed by Dominica, etc. Okay, now for the good stuff. How do you invest on the market? As I said before, to buy and sell securities on the ECSM, you must utilize the services of a licensed broker-dealer. Question and answer. Do we have a broker-dealer in Grenada? Which is? If you want to buy and sell securities, do you have to go to Core Bank? You can use any broker. And where are the other brokers? St. Lucia, St. Kitts, St. Vincent? Yes. You can use any broker. We have 13 broker-dealers in the region. And these broker-dealers, they provide securities brokerage services, investment advice, portfolio management services, underwriting of securities, and custodial services. 13 broker-dealers throughout the region. They operate in Antigua, Barbuda, Barbados, Dominica, Grenada, St. Kitts, St. Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, the Grenadines, and Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, we do have agent or subsidiary of a Trinidad firm operating in St. Lucia as well. Then we have broker representatives. And these are individuals. These are individuals who are licensed by the Commission and are employed by broker-dealer firms. And we also have investment advisors who, again, could operate individually, but also as part of a firm. And in the region, we have 27 licensed representatives and 22 licensed principals. What is a principal and what is a representative? Now, in order for any company to provide broker-dealer services, they must be incorporated as a company, and they must have at least 2 staff members, one of which is called a principal, and the other a representative. The principal being the senior and the junior officer, both providing brokerage services. In order to become a principal or a representative, you must be licensed by the Commission, and to do so, you must pass our examination. So there is a ECSM certification program that is offered. We offer it twice a year. Anybody wishing to provide investment advisory services, broker-dealer services as a representative or a principal must pass these examinations. Apply to the Commission for a license. And once you're licensed, then you can, that's not entirely true. Once you're licensed and attached to an accredited firm, then you can offer the service. So it is possible that you can qualify, but you are not employed by a broker-dealer firm, then you will not be able to practice on your own. You must be operating within a licensed broker-dealer firm. In the region, we also have one limited services broker, and that means someone who is a firm providing services to its own company, and as such, it's limited in its operation. It's not to the general public. We only have 2 licensed investment advisors. And I want us to pay attention to that because that's a great opportunity for all professionals wishing to get into that business. It's wide open. We only have 2 of such persons. Well, one is a business and an individual offering that service at this time. And we have 3 collective investment schemes. So this is the infrastructure within which we are asking you to invest. What is a collective investment scheme? Can anybody tell me? By definition, the word collective. You know, I expect credit unions to answer very quickly because credit unions is all about that. It's about pooling. It's about pooling your resources, bring it all together so that the pie becomes bigger and you can invest. It's similar as a collective investment scheme. A mutual fund is buying bits and pieces of various securities, packaging it, and on-selling it. So we have 3 of such companies. We have UTC Global Balance Fund, which was launched in Grenada recently. Are we aware of that? We have Bank of St. Lucia Global Investment Fund and Sagico in Barbados. Again, I'm saying all these things because this is not well known, but these are investment opportunities on the supply side, meaning that firms and individuals can get into that business and make money for themselves and provide a service that is needed for the growth of the market. Because as I speak, and as Ariza continues to promote financial literacy, and as more companies do so, there's going to be an increase in demand. And then what do you purchase? You purchase the securities that are offered by the companies through the broker-dealer operations. So unless the demand side grows in tandem with the supply side, then the market would not grow. Are we getting that? So it's important that we see, as young individuals here, as young professionals, as students, you see the possibilities for growth for your own career in terms of the infrastructure of the Eastern Caribbean securities market. And what did we do to facilitate that? The commission was established, as I said, in 2000. That's almost 25 years ago. And it has not grown to the extent, for many reasons, that is desirable. And as such, we saw the need to review the operations, review the act, to see what are the tweaks that are needed to ensure that there could be some stimulation in the market. So one of the first things we recognize, as I said, is that we were really the best kept secret. And therefore the need for visibility became very clear. And we are going to be participating in a number of outreach activities to ensure that there is much more information and much more awareness of the market and of the Regulatory Commission in protecting investors on the market and in assisting the growth of the market. But recently, there has been some changes to the Act to address deficiencies and also to create opportunities for increased participation in the market. And that's what we talk about. We talk about the lower entry barriers. So initially, any firm wanting to get involved on the market as a broker-dealer operation had to have a minimum capital of $1 million. And that has been in effect since we started in the year 2000. Through a recent revision of the Act, that has been changed from $1 million to $500,000, making it much easier for entry. Again, to be an investment advisor, you had to have a minimum capital of $250,000. That has been reduced to $60,000 again. And importantly for credit unions and cooperatives, the definition of a company was amended because prior to this amendment, it was not possible for credit unions as cooperatives to participate because your legal status was not that of a company, And that has been changed again in the Act to facilitate cooperatives and other companies and other businesses not set up as a traditional company. And the other major piece of the puzzle, as I mentioned, is the ECSM certificate training. This is very important, especially, again, to TAMCC students. You might want to have a look at that. The ECSRC, in collaboration with the bank, offers every year, twice a year, a program for individuals who are interested in becoming licensed to operate as a broker-dealer, representative, or investment advisors. And that's a very lucrative career, and it's something that you perhaps should want to have a look at. Just to reiterate, you cannot buy or sell securities unless it is done through a licensed financial advisor, broker-dealer. When you approach your broker-dealer, you should provide them with all of the information that they request so that they can assist you in choosing the right investments. And you need to know your rights as an investor. Do your research to find the right broker-dealer and the right advisor who is going to help you in that regard. So so you have come, we have said to you, you need to move from savings to investments. We have said to you that we have an infrastructure that allows you to participate on the market as an investor. We have said to you, you cannot participate unless you go through a broker-dealer. We say to you that you must pay attention, you must do your research, and ensure that you have all of the information that is necessary to help you to make the right decisions. Having done all of that, you have taken the bold step and you want to invest. You must know, when you approach your broker-dealer, what are your rights? As an investor, you are a consumer of financial services, and you have the right to receive information about the entity's history, expertise, and its advisors. So I've decided that I want to invest in, let's say, SL Hosford, one of the companies listed. What do I do? You have the right to have access to the financial statements. You have the right to have access to the prospectus. You have the right to know what they're about, if they're making money or not, before you make that bold step. Because the only reason that you would invest would be for what? To make money. Yes? Yeah, don't lose your capital. To make money. And if they're not making money, then you're not interested in investing. But you have a right to know. So all of these things must be disclosed. But you have to know what you're asking for. You have a right to complete information about the risks, obligations, benefits, and costs of any potential investment. And you have a right to investment advice that is consistent with your financial needs and investment objectives and for your risk tolerance. That's important. It's important because the government of Grenada has just launched the 4.25% household bond. We are aware of that. It's all over the news. Is that a good thing? It is a good thing. You can't get that money sitting in your commercial bank or in your credit union at this stage. It's a good thing. So what do? What is the next step? You have to pre-register. I heard advertisements for pre-register. Did we all pre-register? I hope you did. You pre-registered? A little buddy told me that it's already sold out, so make sure that you try to get your feet in. But having pre-registered, then you have to go to a broker-dealer and set up a brokerage account, yes? So you're not simply going there because you need to buy the 4.25% bond, because this is just a beginning of a relationship. It is not just about the bond. You're now forming a relationship with whichever broker-dealer that you choose, and it could be Callback, it could be First Citizen Investments, it could be any one of these broker-dealers throughout the region. And you will expect that subsequently you will hear about an issue of government bonds. You're going to hear about the possibility of an IPO of a firm that has gone public. You will hear of other things. But you need to build that relationship with your broker-dealer firm so that whatever future investments comes up, then you are well poised to be able to make use of that. So it's a relationship that you're building. And when you go and you speak with some level of authority, some level of assertiveness in terms of the information that you need. So you will ask them, this company is going public. Have you seen the prospectus? What is a prospectus? A document that defines the product, that tells you the past history of the company, etc., the projected income, etc., etc., etc. Important information to know. You need information about the risk, obligation, benefits, and costs of any of the potential investments, etc. Right. You also have as an investor, you have a right to ask questions of your licensed representative, such as your broker, dealer, investment advisor, security industry professional with whom you intend to conduct business. I just said that. And get information on the entity's performance and the track record. You have a right to choose. As an investor, before choosing an investment product, it is important to assess all of your options. Assess all of your options. Because you must understand the reason. Well, of course, it begins with your ability to invest, the funds that you have, and also your own investment goals in terms of what you're saving for, what you're investing for, how quick, how long you can be in the market. And I always say to people, it's not about quickly entering the market and try to buy and sell and get rich. It's not about that. It's investing for the long haul. Time in the market. You spend time in the market rather than trying to time the market to jump in and jump out and try to make a kill. Doesn't work like that. So you assess all your options. You choose the investment product that best satisfies your goals. Choose an investment advisor and provider that best meets your needs. And shop around and compare the products available. Now, I know that we were seeking to try to get all of the broker-dealers to sort of synchronize their fees and charges. I'm not quite sure how successful we were or not we, meaning the governments, I think, were seeking to do that. Because, of course, each company has its own costs and profile and costs and revenues and its rationale for getting into the business, which, of course, is also to make a profit. So we cannot dictate what their fees are. But you, as the investor, has a responsibility to shop around and get the best deal for yourself. You have a right to redress. As an investor, you have a right to receive information on the process for raising capital, resolving complaints regarding the provision of investment advice, receive information about alternatives available to you if the company is unable to resolve a conflict or a complaint to your satisfaction. You have a right to change investor advisors if you are dissatisfied with the service you have received. You have a right to lodge a complaint with the ECSRC in relation to any securities matter. However, note that a loss on your investment due to the prevailing market conditions is not a legitimate basis for a complaint. Some tips. I could start by saying, perhaps you shouldn't get into cryptocurrency. We're not going to say that. I'm going to say to you, if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And I'm not talking about no investments on the securities market. I'm talking about generally in terms of offers you can receive. Offers sent to you over the phone, offers sent to you over the internet, offers sent to you in a sort of high sale pressure environment. Fraudsters use high pressure and a number of tricks of the trade. And here are some common tactics. The phantom riches tactic, dangling the prospect of wealth, enticing you with something you want but can't have. These shares are guaranteed to produce X amount of money a month. Nobody can guarantee you anything. That's a red flag. The source credibility tactic, trying to build credibility by claiming to be with a reputable firm or to have a special credential or experience. Believe me, as a senior vice president of XYZ, I would never sell an investment to you unless it proves whatever. That's a red flag. Guarantees. We suspect if anyone who guarantees that an investment will perform a certain way. Be suspect of anyone who guarantees that an investment will perform a certain way. Unregistered products. I told you the products that are registered on the ECSM. There are many more products in the region that are being sold, but they are not registered. Something go wrong, you have no redress if you purchase an unregistered product through an unregistered broker, dealer, seller, what have you. You have no redress. I don't want to repeat, I do not have to repeat, but we know our experience with some of the fly-by-nights that pass through our country. Be on guard. Many investment scams involve unlicensed individuals selling unregistered products. Overly consistent returns. Any investment that consistently goes up month after month or that provides remarkably steady returns regardless of market conditions should raise suspicions, especially during turbulent times. So the market is up and down, fluctuating, but you have a steady return. Can be. What do we call these things? Ponzi schemes, pyramid schemes. Be on guard. Complex strategies. Avoid anyone who credits a highly complex investing technique for unusual success. And there have been some products that have been so complicated and they make you feel stupid. But how come you don't understand that? But it's the logarithms and the maths and the whatever and the whatever. You're feeling so foolish because you say, well, I should understand. So you say, and you invest your money. You tie up your head. And you don't want to feel shame, so no. Be on guard. If it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. I remember one man, I think there was someone in Scotland, he said, you know, me and this person have a very good relationship, you know. It's built on trust and something else. He said, trust and goodwill. He said, I have no goodwill towards him, and I don't trust him, and he don't trust me. So I'm not buying his product. Because the guy came with all kind of fancy stuff, all kind of fancy math, algorithms. He said, no, this is too complicated for me. That is not for my money, and you should do the same. Those are the other red flags. Missing documentation. If someone tries to sell you a security with no documentation, that is no prospectus. You don't have a prospectus, what you're selling. Account discrepancies. Keep an eye on your account statements to make sure your account activity is consistent with your instructions, and be sure you know who holds your assets. A pushy salesperson. No reputable investment professional should push you to make an immediate decision about an investment or tell you that you've got to act now. So these are some tips that we sought to give you about investing outside of the ECSRC and the ECSM. The ECSM is a market that is regulated by the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission. The products are all licensed. The operators are all registered and all licensed. And the ECSRC has mechanisms in place to ensure that we follow up consistently in terms of regular reporting that all of our, what we call our reporting issuers must do to ensure that the information to the public is transparent and easily accessible. If you're not within that framework and you go outside of that and decide to invest for bigger returns, then of course the bigger returns bring the bigger risk and the bigger possibility of being scammed. And you cannot have any recourse to the ECSRC in that regard. So to conclude, the ECSRC provides service to the general investing community through its regulatory framework, Eastern Caribbean Securities Market. Investor protection is a key function of the Commission. Strong regulation builds investor confidence, one of the building blocks for a stable market and a wider ECCU financial system. If you are an investor or you are planning to invest in securities, you should ensure that you know your rights and that you can identify the red flags of investment fraud. The ECSRC is also making it easier for firms such as credit unions to participate as broker-dealers on the market. And we have given you some useful links that you should look at. One of them being ECSE Online, where you can see the daily trades and see the daily movements of the securities. Time to Invest is another YouTube video, etc., etc. Once you go on ECCB network website, ECSRC website, ecsrc.com, you'll get much more information. So that's it for me in terms of the workings of the ECSRC. It's not glamorous. It is useful information that you need to know. When they asked me to do this presentation, I said, listen, this is not going to be something that is full of vibes. It's not something that's going to excite people. It's just basic information as to what is the regulatory framework to protect you as you seek to invest on the market. So thank you very much for listening. We open for questions, I'm sure, at the appropriate time.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Livingston-Andel, for your thought-provoking presentation and information sharing. Let's give her another round of applause, please. I have 4 points that I gathered from this presentation. One, savings are only the first step. We have to move beyond that. And that is to invest, to build wealth for ourselves and for future generations. Maybe for something else that we want in life. The ECSRC protects investors, particularly the Eastern Caribbean securities market, which operates fairly, transparently, and efficiently safeguarding investors' rights. The third one, invest wisely and know your limits. Avoid investment fraud. Big one. We are easily attracted to nice things. We can easily be fooled by that. So now is the time for discussions and reactions to the presentation. And I'd like to invite to the stage our panelists for this segment of the session this evening. Let me just get my information. Mr. Shakil Isaac, who is a representative of SGU Business Students Association. Let's welcome him. I think he's also a staff of the Ariza, right? So you need an extra clap for that. And we have Ms. Abisha Otley, economist and head of the TAMCC Business Department. And online, we have Ms. Aloysia Faisal, CEO of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission. I think we have to show her screen on the system. Right, so we're about to roll with the panel. So I will give them the chance to introduce themselves a bit more and to give their first impression of Mrs. Andel's presentation. So we'll start with Ms. Aloysia online. You may go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. It is indeed my pleasure to be a part of this prestigious event in Grenada. And I look forward to getting all the questions, and I hope I'm able to provide some good answers for the most to those questions this evening. As the moderator said, my name is Aloysia Faisal. I am the Chief Executive Officer of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission. I have over 30 years of experience as a regulator. I started with the central bank many moons ago as in the bank supervision department, and I have since branched out from there into securities regulation, and I've held this position for the last 10 years and counting. And in terms of my educational qualifications, I hold a bachelor's degree in management studies from the University of the West Indies with first class honors. I also have an MBA in finance from the University of Durham in the UK. I also hold a Bachelor of Laws degree, and I'm currently studying for my Master of Laws. So I'm also a member of the Association of anti-money laundering specialist, ACAMS. Yes, so I hope with all my credentials and experience, I am able to answer some of the questions that will be posed tonight. In terms of our chairman's presentation, of course, I will be very biased and say that her speech was awesome, absolutely filled with nuggets of wisdom and information to share with everybody who about the market, about the ECSRC, what we do, and the benefits and the risks of investing. I think that it is an excellent expose about the securities market and moving from how persons can move from savers to investors. And I think it sets the stage excellently for an engaging discussion this evening. And so I look forward to the questions from the audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we move to Shakil Isaac for your introduction.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shakil Isaac. I am a student of the St. George's University in my final year, doing my bachelor's in business management. I am also an employee of Ariza Credit Union, so my presence here today, I think it's of a dual function because, of course, I am very happy to be part of what I consider to be a transformative and very inspiring initiative to ensure that we promote generational wealth creation and financial literacy throughout Grenada, Carriacou, and by extension, the region. In terms of my experience with Mrs. Andel and her presentation, of course, I am used to Mrs. Andel, having sat with her and being part of her leadership. I must say that it was quite inspiring. It was an eye-opener, and I feel like this, as you rightly said, is a best-kept secret, and I'm looking forward to this organization being able to bring its information out there so that more persons can take advantage of the knowledge and the information.
Okay, thank you. And to Abisha for your introduction and comment.
All right, so good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I am Ms. Otley. I am chair of the Business and Office Administration Department in T.A. Marisho Community College. I have my first degree in economics, my second degree in finance with a specialization in economic policy, and I also hold a Bachelor's of Law from the University of London. I think the presentation here today was an excellent presentation, especially as we are in the month of financial literacy, allowing investors to understand all of the information that is necessary so that they can demystify the investment process. And I think today the information that we got from Mrs. Andel has definitely allowed investors, the audience, the regular Grenadian person to understand the opportunities that are available to them. So I think it was an excellent presentation.
Thank you. And I think you have just set the pace for the discussion on one of the areas that I'd like to put forward for the panel to share on. That is shifting from saving to investing and overcoming the fears and misinformation that are out there that cause people not to want to really invest, moving from savings to investing, yeah? So I'll let you get a chance to continue your piece, and then we'll move on to the other panelists.
So I think that question that you have posed is a very crucial issue that we have in the Caribbean region, especially in Grenada. Now, understanding how we move from the desire to invest to action of investing has always been an issue in economics and developmental studies. Now, I think many persons, they may infer their interest to invest, but making that concrete step towards investment is always a challenge and has continued to be a problematic experience. So how do we create that bridge as credit unions, as cooperatives, as policymakers? How do we create that bridge between the inaction to action as it relates to investment behaviors? I think it is very important that we first demystify the financial process of funding. I think additionally, having campaigns of financial literacy must go with a cultural transformation and reintroduction to investment. Because as a Caribbean region and as a country, I think our consumers or nationals are very, what we call, they put themselves into analysis paralysis or paralysis by analysis, where they overthink the investment process. And as a result of that, they fail to make any concrete move towards investing, because we now focus so much on the risk, the loss that can happen, even when the perceived returns on the investment is visible. We still take the loss that is possible and make it a real possibility. So how do we change that cultural mindset? How do we change that inaction gap that exists in our society? And I think financial literacy is very important. What we have witnessed here today and what has continued throughout the month, I think is very important, because it has allowed persons to understand that firstly, you do not need a large number of wealth to start investing. Secondly, you do not need to have perfect information about the market to commence investing. And I think because of this, persons can now reculture themselves to understand that investing can start with small steps. And I think the exercise here today has shown that this is very possible and practical.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Facial, what's your input on this? You're talking, but I think you're muted.
Sorry. Sorry, my apologies. Yes, so I was saying, following on from Ms. Otley, I think I would support the view that there is a fear, an absolute fear of losing money. Persons, we've experienced or heard about certain things and persons going through certain things, and we immediately figure that these things may happen to us if we invest our money. And I think we look at investing for most of us as something, that is beyond our understanding, right? We look at images on TV of the New York Stock Exchange, and we see all these numbers and all these graphs, and we wonder, immediately we believe that this type of activity is not for us, because it's too complicated. I can't understand. And that's where financial literacy comes in. I think without financial literacy and teaching people about the basics of investing, then that's the only way we can overcome some of those challenges. The other thing is that persons may have some sort of may carry certain emotional issues as it relates to money. Some of us may look at money as risky and not investing only for rich people, right? You can, as Ms. Otley said, you can start small, you can start with the basics, and investing is for everyone. And as long as we have the right financial advice and we take the right steps and invest in products that are suited for our purposes and our objectives, think we're on the right track.
Okay, so it's about a change in mindset about monies and the whole culture of investment. Mr. Isaac, you have to advise your fellow students, classmates, or members of the Ariza, or your customers on dealing with their fears and the misinformation out there about investment. What are some of the concrete advice would you give to them with regards to that?
All right, of course, I would first of all say research is important. And when we say research, I'm not only referring to settings like these, but going beyond this and being able to basically understand what it is that you're trying to get into, thinking ahead of trends and looking at what might be useful from now, 10 years from now, and trying to be prepared so that you can invest now so that you can take advantage of that in the future. So I would definitely say research and education. Those are two paramount things that you could take into consideration.
Okay. Some persons would say to us that we've had experiences, even in Grenada, in the financial sector, companies, persons would have invested in, would have gone under for some reason or the other. And that sort of prevents them from wanting to invest. Ms. Otley, based on those experiences, maybe can you identify one of those lessons learned from situations like that in the past, and how would you advise someone who want to invest now and still considering some of those issues that they faced in the past?
Well, I think our history, going way back to the colonial economies, have shown that the plantation economy that we inherited, the colonial economy we inherited, showed us that the financial processes were handed down to us. Additionally, the crisis that we experience in the Caribbean, the financial and economic instability throughout the Caribbean, has also shaped our historical perspective on investing. Even persons who would have experienced the revolution would have feared for investing because of the results of the revolution. So keeping all of these cultural things in mind, we cannot underestimate the importance of financial literacy and cultural reintroduction. We have to now reintroduce our people to investment processes. We have to reintroduce them to understand that savings alone is not going to generate generational wealth. It is not going to foster financial independence. I would suggest that the education system be revamped and have financial literacy involved in the curriculum, not just from the primary level, from primary, secondary, and tertiary level. Teaching our students how to understand not just the numbers, but understand the structures that goes with investing. Understand how from a young age you can become innovative, because entrepreneurship is what drives our economy. We all cannot work for somebody else. How do we make our money work for us? So there must be some policy adjustment in education and with finance to ensure that the fundamentals are understood from a very young age so that the cultural reintroduction can take place. That's my thought.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for that. I am glad that you brought up the idea of the schools in the conversation, because we need to get our students involved in the whole process. But I believe education is not just about a teacher standing in front of a class and talking about savings and so on. It's about the programs that we engage in. So I know before we had what you call junior achievers and those things. What are your views on those kind of, we call them extracurricular, but they're not extra. They're actually live experiences that our students should be involved in to help build that culture of investment among them. What's your views on that?
I think calling it extracurricular in this day and age and in the economic environment that we have should be stopped immediately. I think this is actually a life skill. Learning how to manage money, learning how to make your money work for you, learning how to become innovative and entrepreneurs, I think that is actually a life skill. Now, in the T.A. Marisho Community College, I'm going to boast a little bit about our school, we have introduced entrepreneurship as a major. And we have recognized that the students have really been inclined to pursue this program, because we recognize that everybody cannot just work 8 to 4. We need to have people who provide employment, whether it is learning the entrepreneurial mindset, we teach them about learning the entrepreneurial process, all of these things because we have recognized that something as simple as junior achievers is not going to provide the educational foundation that is necessary for our young people to thrive in this diverse and dynamic economy.
Thank you. We have 2 microphones in the halls. You can always, you can go to one of them if you wish to ask a question or make a comment. Yes, we do have one question or comment.
Okay, so good evening to the distinguished panelists. My name is Dr. Helen Bola. I'm a faculty at St. George's University in the business department. So I want to just set the stage to the fact maybe why some persons are fearful in our culture with investing. Keeping in mind that I would use the concept of the hot stove concept, where people were burnt before, and I'm looking at examples of British American. So many people lost monies in British American. And my question is, how can investors be protected from situations like that from happening? So companies that are on the ECSRC, how do investors know, or probably how do you guys protect investors should in case a company is not doing well and potentially can go out of business? What's the recourse for persons? So that's my question to the panelists.
Okay, so we're going to ask Ms. Faisal to start the response to that question.
Yes, thank you for that question. I think I've heard that this is quite an issue in Grenada because in my experience in my tenure in the CSRC, Grenada has had its share of investment frauds. But I think one thing that one important point that we need to be aware of is that those institutions failed for a reason. They failed because of a lack of them following the law and the procedures that were in place. In the case of British American, that was an insurance company, and I do believe that one of the main reasons is that for that institution failing is the lack of our laws not being, our insurance laws not being modernized and providing adequate protections at the time, right? So these frauds happened a long time ago, and I dare say we've learned our lesson. We've learned from our lesson from those types of activities. And what we've done in the ECSRC, I can speak for, is that we have sought to strengthen the legislation. We've proposed a new Securities Act that would give the ECSRC a little more enforcement or strengthen our enforcement powers. We've also put arrangements in place that would support investors. For example, the recently launched mutual funds. We've created a framework or regulatory framework where there has to be a level of separation between the investing part, the investing arm, and the assets, the protection of those assets that are purchased with investors' funds, right? The very point of licensing an entity means that you are subject to certain levels of scrutiny and supervision by the regulator. I am not saying now that the regulators failed in those other instances. What I'm saying is that maybe we took our eye off the ball, but now we have recognized that there were failings in the past, and we have done, and I dare say in the ECCU, not just ECSRC, ECCB as well, and the regional regulators, the government regulators, have recognized the failings and the shortcomings that happened, that caused, that created those situations. And we have sought to plug those holes and to strengthen our processes, our supervisory systems, as well as the legislative framework to ensure that those things do not happen again. But I can speak purely for the ECSRC now that we take our role very seriously in terms of investor protection. And we do ensure, as our chair had said, we propose new legislation. And that legislation, even the ones that we use now, even the legislation that is in place now, does provide adequate protections for investors.
Okay, thank you. That Dr. Bowler mentioned the hot stove concept. Any further comments on that?
Yes, if I can add to what the previous panelists have responded to Dr. Bowler's question. Mrs. Arnold did make mention of some measures that we can take into consideration to avoid those things repeating themselves. One of those being knowing your right and understanding your rights as an investor and ensuring that you have the access to the financial information to make sure that you make sound and wise financial decisions, as well as seeking guidance from a financial advisor. Those are two basic steps that you can take to ensure that you do not fall prey to or victim to things that happened in the past for it to repeat itself again.
Okay, Ms. Otley?
Yeah, I wanted to add to that. I think while all of it that was stated is very relevant, we cannot ignore the psychological damage that was done to consumers from the failures of these institutions. So I think what we can applaud so far is the work of, I would say, our credit union movement. Specifically, we can speak of Ariza, we can speak of the Credit Union League in their role in educating consumers of the importance of investment, their role in educating others about financial literacy and so on. But we must not ignore the psychological damage that was done. And I think in order for us to get past that, the fact that the credit unions and the Credit Union League is so strong in Grenada, they have the responsibility, I believe, to edify the public, to ensure that they understand that they are there as financial support when these things happen. The fact that they have moved from just savings organization, to providing microloans, to assisting, we have GIDC who assists with business plans and so on. All of these small steps can lead to the restructuring of the psychological damage that took place, because we cannot ignore that persons were psychologically affected by the failure of these institutions. So I think the credit unions have a role to play in ensuring that persons' psychology is what could I say? Reinvented.
Yeah.
So that persons can get over that psychological fear. They have an efficient role to play, especially our policymakers as well.
All right. So the psychological impact of investing in a company that I thought over time I will get a good investment has been damaged. I feel really bad about my finances at this point in time. But what sounds good is that person who tells me that in the next month I can get $62,000 wired to my bank account. Now, that sounds more possible because I don't have to wait 2 years to get returns. I can get it tomorrow. So now that is my mind. I feel much more comfortable. What do you think?
If it sounds too good to be true, then it probably... Exactly.
Yeah, but we speak about that psychological impact. Now, I'm trying to get over that money that I invested, that I should have gotten some investment, some returns maybe 5 years ago. I've lost everything. But here I'm getting a proposal that I will get back some in 2 weeks if I just give a certain amount, yeah?
But consumers have a responsibility. If you're investing, you have a responsibility as an investor to do your research, find out the information, and if the return seems too quick, too good to be true, it probably is.
Okay.
So we cannot negate the responsibility of the consumers. We cannot just say, oh, the financial institutions failed, and now we have that psychological damage. There is a role to play as the consumers and investors that you have to do your research as well. So, and now that we have technology and information is all over the place, we have to do our research as investors.
Right. And that takes me to my next point about the role of technology in the whole process of reducing that fear and so forth, as well as research, getting information. What is the role of technology in the whole investment culture? I will start with Mr. Isaac.
Well, the internet provides us with a large opportunity for us to have access to a database on the various companies, as Ms. Anna Olaf mentioned, the list of companies that are available for investing and so forth. Their information should be easily accessible so that investors have the opportunity to take their time and to go through and to research and make sure that when they're making decisions, they're making calculated decisions, they're making wise decisions, and the risk that they're getting into, it's not blindly, but at least they have some form of assurance to mitigate the effect.
Okay. Ms. Audley?
I think one of the challenges that we face is that we think that everything that's on the internet is true.
True.
And we very often fail to do adequate research. And we must ensure that first, in doing research, you have to understand where are you getting the information from. So it is not just about doing the research, but you have to ensure that the information you are gathering in doing the research is credible information. Okay?
Ms. Faisal?
And also to add to that, I think we have AI now, and AI can do fantastic things. AI can impersonate people, their voices, and give all kinds of information. I think while we have benefits of using technology, they provide tremendous benefits, particularly for investing. I think we should all be very wary of how we use it. And as my two fellow panelists would have said, do your research. And also you always have the licensed financial advisors available, licensed brokers that you can speak to. The ECSRC is also here. You can call, if something comes up and you think it looks a little strange, you can simply send us an email. We have a complaints app on our website where you can fill in a form and it immediately sends us an email directly. If you think that something is being offered on the internet, I know that we've had in the past a lot of Forex schemes, and that's a whole other discussion. And I know that some persons would have invested invested their monies in that type of activity. It is highly risky, and it's akin to gambling, right? And it's not for the faint of heart.
Okay. Do we have any other questions? Okay. Right, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. Excuse me. I'm here to get some concrete information, and I did not realize this session is more for the educational process. And but being in the audience, I'm starting to ask some serious questions of myself and of the panel. One of the things that I'm interested in is investing, and investing more locally in Grenada and such, and I'm finding it difficult to do it. The process of getting a brokerage account, to me, left me very distraught, and I was not pleased with it, and I'm still going through it right now, trying to take advantage of the government bond offering. I'm trying not to use any derogatory terms or being facetious with my words, so I'm taking my time to speak. I did not enjoy it, I'm not enjoying it, and I'm not feeling it. And I hope that the ECSRC can look into that. It's not working. Yeah? I am well down the road to invest in. I have an account, brokerage account. I own shares in Grenada Cooperative Bank. However, when I look at the different offering that's there, there's not much movement. It's very slow, or zero, no movement at all. And I'm trying to figure out, why am I investing in this company? And I'm looking for a return on my money. That's what everyone is here trying to do. And it's not moving. Now, when somebody comes with that sweet carrot, dangle it in front of me, I want to take a bite. And that's at my disadvantage because I don't have any protection. So that's why these things happen. BICO, the other one that happened not some while ago, but it's very clear in people's mind. I can't remember the name right now. Anyway, so that's one thing I'm looking at. There's other companies in Grenada that's doing very well, that pays very good dividends. However, to buy those stocks, it doesn't exist. You cannot buy it. Nobody's selling it, everybody's holding on to it, and it's not moving. That's a problem. These things are designed to be constantly in movement. Yeah, you're in, you're out, not short term, but it's a long-term thing. But everybody's long-term. Long-term, family, generation. It's not moving. You're laughing, I don't find it funny, I find it very distressing. Yeah, that we are sitting here and we have the young people who wants to get in. How do they get in? I'm tempted to look at the mutual fund offering that is coming through, but I am scared, being frank. Who is looking at this? The number of things behind these mutual funds? Who is managing it? Is the regulatory board keeping up with them? How fast are they moving? Are they way ahead of you? You're also making claims not to get involved with cryptocurrency. No, yes, maybe so. A lot of people have gotten very rich off the cryptocurrency. A lot of people have lost a lot during cryptocurrency. It's a risk. Where's your appetite? Yeah? I'm also thinking about the institution that is now promoting this education process. How are they looking to invest in Grenada and in Grenadians? Some of the young people want to buy a house. The average house right now in Grenada is $500,000. And that's no furniture in it. That's just a building. How do you get that? How do you get that? The income is not keeping up with that type of investment for you to make. Are we now starting to look at multi-stories, condominiums, these type of things that would reduce the cost? Are we looking at different building materials instead of concrete and blocks, which is very pollutant to the environment? Yeah? All these things I think about. To me, investing is, I go to the institution and I would buy a car and I will run a taxi. That's me investing. That car is now working for me and producing an income for me. Or maybe buy 3 or 4 and be the next Uber in Grenada. These are the little things that I see that we're doing here in Grenada. When we talk in investment, we really have to be practical of what we're doing. I would love to be trading on the New York Stock Exchange from Grenada, but I can't do it in Grenada. So I know this is an educational process, and I don't mean to steal anybody's thunder here, but I really would want to get into the nuts and bolts. That's why I'm here. I really thought it was going to be that, but obviously I was wrong about what I came here looking for. But I just wanted to speak on that for a minute, because as we move forward, this is the next step everybody's going to want to be at. And like I said to you, just to start, I was frustrated. I did register. From the time I heard about it, I registered, went on the government site and I registered all the questions they asked, I put in how much money you want to invest, everything. And to me, I did not understand that I had to go and get a broker, and not realizing since I own stock in Core Bank, I already have a brokerage account. And up to now, they still can't tell me I'm going comfort. So that's my input today. Thank you.
Okay. It's quite a bit to unpack. I think the senior persons in the financial sector here this evening will have some things to think about moving out of here. And even the Ministry of Finance will have to also look at that coming out from this event. I think Ms. Facial will speak.
Yes, thank you so much for that intervention. The gentleman said that he owns shares in Grenada Cooperative Bank, but it means that he should have had an investment account already opened. So the broker that he used to purchase those shares should have an investment account or records for him. So I'm not sure why he had to go through that entire process again. However, the
One second.
ECSR...
He would like to respond.
It is the Grenada Cooperative Bank, my broker is.
Right, so you should have had a brokerage account with them already if you already own shares in GCB, unless, like you say, the shares were handed down. But in any event, you should have an account already with them, and so you should not have had to go through that process. But I'm not sure of all the details behind, but that's something we can look into. And I wanted to say as well that we have heard, the ECSRC, we've heard complaints about the account opening process with the brokers. I just wanted to let persons know that opening a broker's account is not opening a savings account. I know that the ECCB has also reduced the requirements or made it easier to open a savings account. And we're also looking at that from the ECSRC side, and we understand the challenges, but not all of the requirements are requirements of the securities laws. Some of them have to do with anti-money laundering legislation that we do not administer. So there are certain things that we can look at, and having heard the gentleman's concerns, we can endeavor to look into that. On the matter of the stocks not moving, securities markets operate on information, and there has to be a whole entire culture shift. And I believe that forums like this would also help our own market in developing. We have a culture where people buy, like the gentleman said, people buy and hold shares, and they pass it on for generations and generations. That's not why that is good. The whole point of a securities market is for trading, for buying and selling securities. And securities are bought and sold based on information. And if there isn't information readily available in the market, persons may not be willing to look at the companies that they've invested in. How are those companies doing? What are the financial results like? And then they make a decision whether or not they want to keep those shares or not. And that is how you get things moving and shares being bought and sold. So we're working as a regulator with the stock exchange and other stakeholders in the market to try to get our market up to that standard. And again, it brings us back to the whole point of literacy, which is what we spoke about earlier. Financial literacy is key and is critical for getting us to that point. Thank you.
Thank you. Any of the panelists would like to say anything on this? Okay, I wouldn't pressure you, right? Ms. Andel, would you like to chime in on this concern?
Simply to say, I think it is possible to own shares in Core Bank and don't have a brokerage account. Because prior to when the first issue of shares were done, they didn't have a brokerage investment arm at the time. I own shares in Core Bank. And at that time, you did not need to have a brokerage account. So it is very possible. You have to go through the works right now to set up an account, even if you are a shareholder.
Thanks for that, Chair.
Okay, do we have any other questions or comments from the audience? Okay, there we have. Go ahead.
Pleasant evening to everyone. I just want to say that I want to thank the ECCB and the other financial institutions and partners who would have taken the time and the resources to help educate us, the public. It is long overdue, and a lot of us don't know anything about investing. For me, I've wanted to invest for a long time, so I've been searching on the internet, but as you say, it's so complicated. Sometimes you get frustrated, you don't know what to do. And so I'm happy to have this information this evening. As it pertains to the government bonds, a lot of people still think Co-op Bank. You just make an appointment and you go in, it costs you nothing. As a matter of fact, there was a forum earlier this week, or last week, where I got a lot of information. And on Monday, I went and opened my brokerage account at Co-op Bank. So if you are interested in buying bonds, you need to just go to Co-op Bank. Although you would have pre-registered, just go to Co-op Bank or call and make an appointment and go and open your brokerage account so that when the market open to purchase, you are ready to do so. If you don't have a brokerage account, you will not, even though you pre-register, you will not be able to purchase any of those bonds.
Okay.
Yeah?
Thank you. Just to speak a bit about the household bonds, I'm one of those who pre-registered. As a matter of fact, when we had the press release, we tried to test the system. I pre-registered, and I received emails from Co-op Bank as a broker inviting me to have a meeting so that we can set up the account and everything like that. So I think we have to share information so that persons can trust the process, as well as to remove the fear that they have and all the misinformation. I don't know if Minister would like to share a bit about the household bonds so that we get a good idea, because some people speak of government needs money, so they are selling bonds so that they get money or something like that, not understanding that it's an opportunity to invest.
Okay, good evening again, and the specific question that was asked of me, I would say to you that having accessed the website that we gave you, that was www.finance.gd, it gave you an opportunity to be registered on the broker-dealer site, be it Grenada Cooperative Bank here in Grenada or others in the region. Now, in my case, I know that they would have sent you an email saying, well, look, we received your information. You now need to provide us with additional information to set up your accounts. So if you did not do that further bit by basically giving them the information so they can open up a broker-dealer account for you, then of course you would not be able to at least participate in the bond issue. I can tell you based on what I have received in terms of information to date, the response to the $5 million residential bond has already surpassed $6.something million and so on. So some of you who have not yet done it may not be able to get in on that current bond that we are talking about. But hopefully, because we are talking about pilot project and so on, and the intention is to broaden participation of households on the stock market, I believe if you didn't get in this time around, you will be able to get in at a later stage for other bond issues and so on. And so do not despair. There will be lots more bond issues coming up in the not too distant future.
Thank you.
Just to add,
Just quickly, I just want us to be aware that there are other broker-dealers in the region, and it's not just Core Bank. So that, it'd be remiss of us as a regional organization to tell you that. You just go to the web, and probably Ms. Faisal could help me to explain the other ones. That's one. And secondly, that $5 million bond issue remember, it's a regional government securities issue, so it's not only for us. So it could well be that even if we pre-registered here, et cetera, but it's open to all of the other islands. And it's always sold on a first-come, first-served basis. So again, it might well be that it's quickly used up, even at opening, based on the fact that the other islands will also have an interest as well. I believe that St. Kitts also an issue coming up, or it should be probably simultaneous with ours.
it's upcoming.
It's upcoming.
Yeah.
It's delayed, yeah. But we should be on the lookout for these similar issues because all of the governments have committed to this reduction in the minimum rate from 5,000 to 500. So please keep your eye peeled for other possible issues.
Yeah. And it's that note that I just want to plug again. Although, with respect to what the minister has said, there will be other issues from the other ECCU member countries. And so even if you have not registered yet, registration has not closed, and it's a good opportunity to get in at $500, whereas under normal circumstances, you'd have to get in at $5,000, right? So even if you don't get your bid placed for the Grenada household bond, when St. Kitts launches theirs, once you are registered and you have a brokerage account, you can place a bid on the St. Kitts bond. If Anguilla decides to launch a household bond, again, once you have your brokerage account, you can go ahead. So you get in at $500 now, and you get the opportunity to participate in every household bond that's launched across the region. So it's what, one more day to register? Register.
Right, thank you. We'll take one more question from the audience. We have gone 1 hour beyond our time here at SGU. So go ahead, and then we'll have some wrapping up statements from the panel, and we'll bring this event to a close.
Okay, I'm looking forward to a system put in place where children can learn to invest. They can, just like you had the junior achievers, where children learn to save at school, that they can learn to be a part of the same kind of system, understand the mechanism, and that it could be kind of like, they don't have to, it's not so complicated as it is for me as an adult for them to be a part of it. I hope some effort will be put in place to develop something like that for children.
Okay.
Chair, if I may, in response to that question.
Okay, thank you.
The Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange, in collaboration with the ECSRC and some of the brokers, launched 2 years ago a regional schools investment competition. It's an annual event, actually it's going on at this time, where we've created an investment platform where schools sign up and the students actually participate in investing in various companies. And at the end of that competition, there is a winner, one or three winners, a winner and runners up who are presented with prizes. So we started that program about 2 years ago. I'm not sure which schools actually participated from Grenada. I do believe that it's at the secondary school level. And that is something that we've started, and we do recognize the need to have financial literacy in schools. And I believe as well that DCCB is aware of that and is in the process of developing some sort of program for that. So just wanted to put that plug in.
All right, thank you. As a matter of closing, my question or comment in closing, asking the panel to make their final remarks, was based on policy and education for promoting an investment culture in Grenada and the Caribbean. And I think that comment from the person out there dovetailed nicely into this final segment. And you give your comments on policy and education in promoting an investment culture.
Well, I think it was mentioned very early in terms of shifting or adjusting our curriculum to ensure that we are intentional with our strategies as relates to educating and driving our young persons towards thinking entrepreneurship and thinking about investment. But I also think that it is wise and it would be very important and instrumental for us to take programs like these to the grassroots level, to the community base, to the community centers whereby we can reach the everyday normal Grenadian citizens who might be thinking about investing. We did mention that there is a fear lingering among us in terms of investing, and a lot of us grew up with the saying that a bird in the hand is better than two in the bush. And because of that type of mentality, we have to now redesign that thinking and ensure that we give them the right tools as well as the advice, the resources, so that they can think investment, they can think wealth creation, they can think forward as to how they can move from this stage to our next. So community-based education, I believe, is fundamental, and shift in the curriculum so that we are intentional with our strategies.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Shakil Isaac, the representative of St. George's University Business Students Association and staff at the Ariza Credit Union. And now, Ms. Otley, your turn.
In closing, I think I have a few things to say.
Great.
Right. As it relates to education and policy, I think our ministries need to learn to collaborate a little bit more so that the Ministry of Finance is connected with the Ministry of Education so that we can get this sort of policy introduced into the schools. We understand the importance of entrepreneurship. We understand the importance of financial literacy. So the Ministry of Finance and the policy makers need to bridge that gap so that the students who we are given to educate are not just educated about physics and chemistry, but they understand how to make financial decisions from a very early age. They understand the importance of money, the reasons for holding money, the functions of money. They understand savings and investments and all of these things from a very early age, so that the time they get to secondary school, they experience junior achievers. This is not something novice to them. So there must be a policy recommendation where education and finance go hand in hand. In addition to social development, all of these ministries need to understand that they have to work hand in hand for the edification of our students. I think additionally, I believe that the process of investing in the Caribbean and in Grenada need to be a bit less complex so that the average Grenadian, I'm not saying get rid of the rules, I'm not saying get rid of the regulation, but I am saying to educate them to understand the steps that are necessary so that it does not come across as so complex that it creates this level of fear. So I think right now, from our experience today and some of the other forums that I've listened to, the complexity of it is creating the fear. And unless we get rid of the fear of the complexity and the frustration it creates, we will always be resistant to invest, and we will continue with that savings-only mindset. So those were two things I'll say. I'll stop here for now because it's late.
All right.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Bisha Otley, economist and head of the TAMCC Business Department. And finally, our panelist, Ms. Aloysha Faisal.
Thank you. And what else can I add? I think just to remind persons that the securities, Eastern Caribbean securities market is a regional market. It is a market for all the member countries of the ECCU. So it means that you have access to not just resources in Grenada, but across and throughout the 8 member countries of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. The other thing I want to say as well is we need to build trust From what I've heard, that persons have gotten burnt from investing. So we need to build back that trust. And one of the ways I think that can be done is by going through mentorship networks, where you connect persons who are investing for the first time with experienced mentors who can assist them. Persons who, you know, we learn a lot from other people. We are a culture where, you know, if somebody is doing something and it's working well for them, we ask them, well, you know, what did you do? We're curious and we want to be part of that. I think we should adopt that same approach for investing so that it demystifies the whole process. Another thing is teacher training, right? We talk a lot about teaching our students and bringing financial literacy in the schools, right? And I do agree with the previous speaker that we need to have some level of collaboration between the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Education. That is important because you need, if you want to have your students learn about investing, we have to start with the teachers. We have to start educating them so that they can impart that knowledge as well. And of course, community support. The credit unions are a perfect avenue for promoting investing through and financial literacy. And I guess that's where I end for tonight.
Okay, CEO of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission, Ms. Aloysia Faisal. Thank you very much. I think we have had a very good representation from our panelists in reacting to some of the points raised by our featured speaker, along with other issues raised during our conversation. We have some tokens for your presence here. Yes, Ms. Faisal, we're going to send yours for you. Maybe when Ms. Andal is coming to her meeting, she'll bring yours to you. So we'll, as a gratitude, we'll invite the CEO, Mr. Lord, to come forward and present those tokens of appreciation. So we'll start with Ms. Andal, right? Ms. Andal getting one as well? All right, so. Ms. Bisha Otley. It's Bisha Otley, sorry. Bisha. And Mr. Shakil Isaac. Thank you very much, all of you, for presentation. Thank you, Mr. Lord. We have come to the end of our session here this evening, and I want to thank everyone for your presence and your participation, your engagement. Particularly, I'd like to say again thanks to Ms. Andal for your presentation, the members of the panel that reacted to your presentation, to our Minister Conwell, thank you very much for being here, the members of staff of the Ariza Credit Union, I want to say special thanks to you for collaborating and bringing this to us. Let's give them a round of applause for that. St. George's University for hosting and partnering with the Ministry of Finance for Ariza in bringing this event to us this evening. And to the Ministry of Finance team, communication team, Mr. Russell, along with the communications team from Ariza. I'm not seeing the, did you stand and make a wave? Ms. Lazarus, yeah. Working along with Russell, thank you very much. So we have highlighted the role of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission in safeguarding investors, ensuring fair and transparent markets, and providing guidance on navigating the securities landscape. Remember, your responsibility as an investor is twofold: to yourself and to the broader economic development of your country. I encourage each of you to make informed investment decisions, remain vigilant against fraud, and focus on long-term wealth creation. While the financial world offers many opportunities, true success comes from discipline, knowledge, and prudence. Thank you again for your attention, your questions, your commitment to building a stronger financial future for yourselves, your families, and our region. Thank you very much, and have a safe journey home, everybody. Thank you.